play for you a video clip of what Michael Wolff said Epstein told him was in the safe and what he showed the author was in this safe. So Director Patel, I'm going to ask you a very broad and general question. As you know, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends. There are, of course, photos showing Donald Trump together with Epstein, correct?
I don't have the entirety of the photographs, but I think they've been photographed in public together.
All right. Are there any photos showing Donald Trump with girls of an uncertain age?
No.
How do you know that?
Because that information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the course of the last 20 years.
Well, you know what? That's just not true, because no one knew about the creepy birthday message that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it, and then all of a sudden, the Epstein estate provides it to Congress.
Kash Patel, Donald Trump's personally chosen FBI director, stood before Congress and confidently declared, "No, there are no compromising photos of Donald Trump with underage girls. None. Zero. End of story." Just like that, case closed, apparently, because sure, why not? Jeffrey Epstein, the man Trump himself described as one of his closest friends for nearly a decade, was supposedly nothing more than an innocent social host who just happened to keep a safe packed with mysterious photographs. Nothing suspicious there, right? Except Congressman Ted Lieu wasn't buying that version of events. Within moments, he produced Trump's own handwritten birthday message to Epstein, the very document the FBI somehow failed to uncover despite 2 decades of investigation. Yet the Wall Street Journal managed to find it without much trouble. Amazing how that works. 20 years of the federal government's full investigative power, and they overlooked a single handwritten note that a newspaper uncovered on an ordinary day. How convenient. So if you think, trust me, even though I haven't seen every photograph, is an acceptable answer from the director of the FBI, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you're wondering how Patel managed to keep a straight face while saying all of this, let me know in the comments, because believe me, this is only the beginning. What Ted Lieu does next makes things even more uncomfortable for Patel. Stay with us.
Certainly, you weren't there at the search. You don't know what Epstein may or may not have done with those photographs even prior to the search. Maybe someone has it. Maybe the Epstein estate has it.
You raise a great point.
So I'm going to ask you, have you asked to talk to Michael Wolff?
You raise a great point. I haven't personally asked to talk to Michael Wolff.
Has the FBI asked?
But the FBI, I'll get back to you if the FBI specifically
so Michael Wolff
has
has about 100 hours of testimony of Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff?
I'm not saying they haven't. I just don't know.
Has FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
Patel looked completely caught off guard, admitting he didn't even know whether the FBI had subpoenaed Michael Wolff's roughly 100 hours of recorded conversations with Jeffrey Epstein. Think about that for a moment. 100 hours of interviews with a man who knew Trump better than almost anyone in Washington, and the FBI director's response was simply, "I don't know." That's not reassuring. It's embarrassing.
Jeffrey Epstein has a voluminous amount of information that they have not released before.
Okay, so that's great. So wouldn't it be great if FBI subpoenaed the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for all that information?
The estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's just false.
Okay.
That's just false. You're the frickin' FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you better do that.
That's literally not how it works.
I'm going to move on now and talk about Epstein's client list. You confirmed that it exists. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed earlier this year that it exists. So I just want to ask you a simple question. Is Prince Andrew on Epstein's client list?
The material related to Prince Andrew has been made public.
Is Prince Andrew on the client list?
We have released the index of names that were in Jeffrey Epstein's.
Is Donald Trump on Epstein's client list?
The index has been released, and the index will speak for itself.
So I'm just going to say, America, there's a huge red flag. The FBI director could not answer whether Donald Trump was on Epstein's
Gentleman's
client
time has
list.
expired. You're now recognized.
Let's take a closer look at what unfolded during that hearing, because when you follow the exchange from beginning to end, a clear pattern emerges. This marked Kash Patel's second consecutive day of testimony before the House Judiciary Committee. By the time Representative Ted Lieu's 5 minutes began, Patel had already spent hours answering questions on topics ranging from immigration enforcement to court orders. He appeared composed and settled into the hearing. Then Lieu began his questioning, and the tone noticeably shifted. What made this exchange stand out wasn't theatrics, it was Lieu's approach. Before serving in Congress, Lieu was a judge advocate general officer in the United States Air Force, where he prosecuted cases, led investigations, and ultimately retired as a colonel in the Air Force Reserve in 2021. Combined with degrees from Stanford University and Georgetown Law, he approached the hearing much like a trial attorney examining a witness, expecting direct and well-informed answers. Lieu began with questions about the FBI's 2019 search of Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence, a widely reported event in which agents recovered numerous items, including photographs from a safe. Because the search had been extensively covered by major news organizations, Lieu's questions focused on information already in the public record. When he asked Patel about those materials, Patel repeatedly responded that he would accept your representation rather than confirming the details from his own knowledge. Lieu suggested that such answers left important questions unresolved, while Patel declined to provide additional confirmation. The discussion then shifted to journalist Michael Wolff, who has said he conducted approximately 100 hours of recorded interviews with Epstein over several years. Portions of those recordings have been publicly released. Lieu referenced footage from those interviews and asked Patel whether any photographs showed Donald Trump with girls whose ages were uncertain. Patel answered that they did not. Lieu followed up by asking how Patel could be so certain. Patel replied that after 2 decades of investigations into Epstein, he believed any such evidence would likely have surfaced if it existed. Lieu responded by pointing to reporting that Trump's previously undisclosed birthday message to Epstein became public only after it was published by the Wall Street Journal, arguing that investigators had not uncovered every relevant document during earlier investigations. Patel acknowledged the point, but maintained his overall position. The exchange illustrated the differing conclusions each side drew from the available evidence rather than producing agreement. Lieu then turned to another topic, asking whether the FBI had interviewed Michael Wolff or subpoenaed his recorded interviews with Epstein. Patel said he did not personally know whether either action had been taken. Lieu emphasized that the recordings could represent a significant body of evidence, while Patel did not speculate about investigative decisions or discuss any ongoing inquiries. The discussion continued with questions about the Epstein estate and whether the FBI could subpoena additional materials. Lieu argued that the Bureau should use every available legal tool to obtain any remaining evidence. Patel responded that the legal process was more complex than Lieu suggested and disputed Lieu's characterization of the FBI's authority. Their disagreement centered on the Bureau's legal powers and investigative procedures, highlighting different interpretations rather than a shared understanding. Throughout the exchange, Lieu argued that Patel's repeated responses, including statements such as, "I'll accept your representation," "I don't know," and references to legal limitations, left important questions unanswered. Patel, meanwhile, consistently avoided confirming information beyond what he said he personally knew or what had already been publicly released. Lieu later asked Patel about the publicly released Epstein files, including whether specific individuals appeared in the released material. When asked about Prince Andrew, Patel referred to information that had already been made public. Lieu then asked whether Donald Trump's name appeared on Epstein's client list. Patel again pointed to the released index of names and said it would speak for itself, without providing a direct yes or no answer. Lieu concluded his questioning by saying he viewed Patel's responses as a significant concern, arguing that the public deserved clear answers about a case that has drawn years of scrutiny. Patel did not expand beyond his previous responses. Whether viewers see Patel's testimony as appropriately cautious or insufficiently direct will likely depend on their interpretation of the hearing. What is clear is that the exchange highlighted sharp disagreements over investigative decisions, publicly available evidence, and the FBI's handling of one of the most closely watched cases in recent years. If you found this breakdown helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing for additional coverage of congressional hearings and major political developments. Share your perspective in the comments below. What did you think of the exchange between Representative Lieu and Director Patel? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.